1994, Viacom buys out Paramount Pictures for $10 billion. This leads the way for, so far, over 30 theatrical films from Nickelodeon. There's really only 29 as I make this, but I like to plan ahead. This is a fraction of every single Nickelodeon theatrical film reviewed. It's Juice and Jam time.
10 long years is quite a price to pay.
We're walking and we don't know where. Woo-wee, it's a jungle out here.
I fucking hate this movie, The Rugrats Go Wild from 2003. Here's another adventure where the family heads off for a vacation only to get shipwrecked on an island. It's here where they cross over with the Wild Thornberrys, another Nickelodeon cartoon family of animal enthusiasts shooting a nature show. While the previous films for the Rugrats and the Thornberrys were some of Nick's better movies, Rugrats Go Raw shows us the worst the Rugrats have to offer. Gross out jokes, annoying music, and overdone parodies. Wow, Titanic? The Perfect Storm? I wonder when this movie came out. At this point, the Rugrats had been running for 12 years and had 3 movies. While it was critically acclaimed in the 90s, many of those fans grew out of the show. It was one of those cartoons that just would not end. You should see forum posts from that time. This Rugrats movie barely has a plot, as it's just a series of dreadful tangents. The only glimmer of emotional inspiration is when Nigel Thornberry is trapped in a submarine with the babies. Air supply is running low, and he has to comfort the babies as they slowly suffocate to death in this family movie. Oh yeah, and Angelica's snarky mom is the only funny character here, I mean it.
There, princess. We've all lost something today. Why, I lost my cell phone with 100 free minutes. And Daddy lost his favorite sun visor. And Uncle Stu lost all our respect.
While this movie does not look advanced, Rugrats Go Hard was actually breaking new ground with Odorama, a revolutionary way to feel the movie. During the theatrical run, a logo will pop up indicating what section of the scratch and sniff card to use. The name Odorama was taken from the R-rated John Waters movie Polyester. John Waters tried to sue Nickelodeon for the use of the Odorama brand, but lost when they found out the copyright expired. Nickelodeon's lawyers simply told him it was an homage to his work. John Waters suggested Nick writing him a check would have been a better homage.
For a minute there, I thought I actually heard you talking to me. You talking to me? Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I can talk to animals.
Now, the marketing for this Rugrats movie heavily promoted the fact that the Rugrats' pet dog, Spike, can now talk, and he's voiced by Bruce Willis. Wow. I had no idea who that was as a kid.
Al wants to know, what was it like portraying a dog?
It's pretty similar to real life. You know, the character of Spike is a.
Rugrats Go Wild and Out was the final Rugrats film for theaters. It performed far worse than the previous movies and was a sign that the Rugrats hype was on its last leg. It was time for them to just let it die.
Should I stay or should I go?
Tickets to the Spongebob movie!
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob SquarePants. Absorbent and yellow and porous as sea. SpongeBob SquarePants.
By 2004, the Rugrats had been dethroned as Nick's #1 show as the world had their eyes on SpongeBob SquarePants. News headlines boasted about its large fandom of college students. I don't mean students who grew up with the show. This was back when it was new. Even my 6th grade English teacher who played Kingdom Hearts 1 had a poster of SpongeBob in the classroom. It seemed like everyone was watching it, so of course we'd get SpongeBob SquarePants the movie.
I'm a goofy goober! You're a goofy goober!
To hype up the film, some episodes were played on Viacom's other channels, MTV and Spike TV. I was confused when I first saw the chocolate episode airing on Spike TV, a now defunct channel that was aimed at men. For a week or so, SpongeBob was airing on the same channel that played cops, UFC fights, James Bond movies, and my favorite game show, MXC. It was and still is everywhere, so of course there'd be a great movie to go along with it. Did anyone ever think they'd cry watching SpongeBob? Living up to the message Nickelodeon always set out to promote, SpongeBob in this movie is seen as an immature kid by everyone around him, so he has to prove his worth. The plot follows the crown stolen from Neptune, the king of the sea, and SpongeBob has to bring it back on a road trip with his dumb fuck friend, Patrick.
Patrick and I are gonna get that crown back and save you from Neptune's wrath. You've got nothing to worry about. Your life is in our hands.
This hits the right spot of staying true to the show while having a story fit for a theatrical scope. It doesn't get too serious or feel like an extended episode. At the age I saw this, adult jokes were starting to make more sense, so SpongeBob essentially getting hammered off ice cream is forever hilarious. They also put in a David Hasselhoff cameo before he became overused. It's such a weird film that I can forgive its flaws. The timing in which they cut between fast-paced action and slower side plots is jarring, and many of the dangers are conveniently solved through a Dos Equis Machina. While the movie's timeline takes place after all the other SpongeBob episodes, there's still continuity problems, like why did King Neptune get a redesign from his one appearance on the show? Maybe they wanted a goofier look. And how can they breathe air above water now? I don't know. Don't think about it. It's funny. Those are just minute flaws to a surreal comedy that's among Nickelodeon's best films. Too bad this was the final 2D animated movie Nick would make until 11 years later when they made a sequel that just does not compare to the original.
Hello, hello, hello. I am your beloved Count Olaf.
Whenever this film gets brought up, I hear nothing but disgust by the fans of the book it's based on. Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, the 2004 movie that brought shame to the book's writer, who wrote a script for the film only for it to not be used. As an outsider who doesn't read, I thought the movie was good by itself and one of the darker Nickelodeon movies.
If you have ever lost someone very important to you, then you already know how it feels. And if you haven't, you cannot possibly imagine it.
You got 3 kids whose parents died in a fire and are adopted by Count Olaf, a creepy man who wants to take all the money these kids inherited. Fans of the book and even R.L. Stines of all people thought Jim Carrey was horribly miscast as Olaf. I see where they're coming from. This is Jim Carrey just doing Jim Carrey, though I see a live-action version of his Scrooge performance.
Dinosaurs rule the earth.
Olaf was funny at first, but as the movie goes on, he certainly radiates a sense of dread similar to another Olaf in fiction. These kids just cannot escape Jim Carrey's BS. Even when there's other people around, they're still helpless since no one's listening to these kids. I found that very terrifying. Fun fact, this orphan girl would go on to play Baby Doll in Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch, so she just has the worst luck with stepfathers in dank, stylized locations. Speaking of, one thing fans can praise is the gorgeous art direction, though I'm sure most will just compare this to a Tim Burton film. Even Count Olaf's first outfit looks like Jack Skellington's suit. To be fair, it's not like Tim Burton was the first to do this avant-garde style. Supposedly, he was signed on to direct before dropping out, but whenever I try to Google a source on that, I just find reviews comparing the movie to Tim's style. Ignoring that, it just looks nice if you ignore the uncanny CG baby stunt double that was created for certain shots.
Violet, Klaus, and Sunny. By the time you read this, my life will be at its end. Or what would have led to this desperate act? Act is spelled with a C.
It's a suicide note. Why are you checking your spelling?
She said her greatest joy in life was grammar. Why is she making all these mistakes?
There are some unique action set pieces, and it's quite a morbid film, but there is a hopeful message that spoke to me back then. In a post-9/11 world, at a time I binged TV shows about crimes and rioting, the movie's message was something I needed to hear. Though, from what I'm told, the books did not have an optimistic message. They were much darker, so maybe it was a good thing for me personally this movie wasn't so accurate. While I'd argue it's still a solid movie by itself, my main issue is the pacing. They crammed 3 books into one film. It feels more like a TV series cut together than a film. Then again, this movie is titled A Series of Unfortunate Events. It is not titled a linear 3-act structure of events. It's an alright movie, though I highly recommend buying the DVD and listening to the audio commentary with the director and Lemony Snicket himself. The entire recording is them sarcastically mocking the film.
And is this the product placement?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, actually.
No, that's the littlest elf is the most charming part of this film so far.
Piece of comfort for a moment.
He's not going to leave without them, is he?
Oh, well.
Oh, well, come back! Is it an interactive film? Come back, please. I beg of you.
No.
Oh, dear God in heaven.
Yeah.
Is that Jennifer Coolidge? That's Jane Addams? Talented people
Sadists.
Throwing their careers away?
Yeah. All sadists.
Yeah, they did not care. Even the deleted scenes are weird.
Do you want to get some Chinese after the show? Yeah. Let's get them. No, I meant food. Oh, sure.
What? Lemony Snicket's A Series of Crunked Up Events had a sequel plan with Snicket writing the script, but the studio was going through changes. Executives and writers were coming in and out. Eventually, anyone in charge that wanted a sequel was long gone, but at least there's that Netflix reboot that I haven't watched yet fans seem to prefer. Before I move on, let's play a game. Lemony Snicket's A Series of Blank Events. I want you all to fill in that blank.
I wish you'd done more research before doing this film, although on the positive side, I guess I should be glad that you did not read the books more closely, as they're so utterly dismal that this film would be 10 times worse if it followed the correct story.
Richard said he'd kill himself. So, Rachel, what made you say something like that?
Because I don't like ballroom dancing. I killed myself, so I don't have to go.
This is one of those movies the Spanish teacher plays for the class when their Selena DVD is scratched. Mad Hot Ballroom, a 2005 documentary. It's almost 2 hours long, and it's about kids taking a ballroom dancing program. They inform us over 6,000 kids from 60 schools are required to take this 10-week course. Oh, God, why? No. If I were a kid here, I'd take chess or drawing, anything else. Also, they mentioned kids from Queens, New York having to sign up. Does this mean Spider-Man had to take this class? This is a documentary I have zero interest in before and after watching it, but I found the interviews with these kids charming. It gets pretty real with them discussing family problems, drugs, alcohol, kidnappers. This is one of Nickelodeon's more hard-hitting films.
You gotta start putting deodorant. You gotta start, washing 2 times a day.
Yeah. And also, did you know that 11-year-old girls are the #1 target for kidnappers? It's really kind of...
What are kidnappers?
Kidnappers. 11-year-old girls are the #1 target for sick people who like little girls.
Yeah, I see the importance of this class, kids learning to work together and seeing other cultures, I guess. Those kids even had a 10-year reunion a few years back. That's cool, but next, I don't care.
So then, I asked her to marry me.
And I said yes. Oh, it was spontaneous and so romantic.
Yeah, but could you tell us?
Who wants the talking stick first?
May I have it, please?
Yes, Jimmy.
Are you crazy?
All the girls and the boys.
Anytime I remember this movie about a family with too many kids, I get it confused with Cheaper by the Dozen. As I write this script, I keep wanting to call this movie Cheaper by the Dozen, but I'm reviewing Yours, Mine, and Ours from 2005, a remake of a 60s film by the same name starring Lucille Ball from I Love Lucy, but not so fond of Ricky. I never watched it, so I'll be reviewing this remake as its own thing since I have enough films to watch. This remake follows a Coast Guard single father who falls in love with a free-spirit hippie single mom. Together, they move into the same house along with their kids, all 18 of them. Do you people know what condoms are?
Please, it needs a little swag. A scooch of Gucci.
Yours, Mine, and Ours is one of those bare, basic family comedies. Someone falls over, kids do gross things, there's a funny animal. It's a waste of time.
What's on my head?
What's on my head?
There's so many characters that no one gets development beyond the mom and dad. They introduce a few subplots once, never bring it up again until the ending when it's resolved. It has no effect on the overall story. There's nothing interesting here beyond the factoid that Drake and Megan are also in this movie as siblings, just like Drake and Josh. Save yourself some time and just watch that, or The Loud House, or The Brady Bunch instead. I think The Movie Mark on IMDb summed it up with his review from 2005. It ain't mine, and I'm pretty sure you don't want it to be yours.
Hi, you've reached Frank.
Helen, Harry, Bina, Malcolm, Michael, Joni, Phoebe,
William.
Otter, Eli, Christina, Ethan,
Don't you want a rematch?
The only thing Jim Carrey loves more than a self-inflicted beating is his new movie, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, in theaters Friday, December 17th.
Oh. I'm sorry. I don't speak monkey.
Get a sneak preview of Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events when you watch Liar Liar, Tuesday at 9 only on USA.
The Rugrats and Wild Thornberries are at Burger King. Now in every Big Kids meal, you can get a wild toy and awesome Odorama card from Rugrats Go Wild the movie. Are you up for the adventure? You can collect 8 sets in all. Only at Burger King.
This is a solid wall.